Trump is now, once again, after that call, coming to Putin's defense, telling Zelensky in a meeting that reportedly turned into a shouting match that Putin would destroy his country if he didn't agree to ending the war on Putin's terms. Even tossing aside maps like this one showing the front lines of the war, saying enough of that. Now, this is according to the new explosive reporting from the Financial Times' Max Seddon, a regular here on the show who will be out front in just a moment. But in Moscow tonight, it's a celebration of Trump's once again backing Putin. And it doesn't get more direct than this. I mean, just listen to this clip from Russian state TV that was uncovered by journalist Julia Davis.
Putin
understands Trump all too well. Trump doesn't understand Putin. Putin can manipulate him very well and lead Trump by his nose.
Well, Russian state TV has some grounding in this. I mean, 27 days ago, Trump posted this. I'll read it. I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win. Win is the word Trump put in all caps. All of Ukraine back in its original form. Well, that shocked the world because it was an about face. But I mean, all of Ukraine, its original form, that's Donbass, that's Luhansk, that's Crimea, it's all of it. And headlines blared, calling it a sudden and major shift. But now, once again, the 180 of Trump saying he didn't say what he said. Because when he was asked today about that exact post saying win all of Ukraine back, here's what he said.
Well, they could. They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it. I never said they would win it.
Well, of course he did. He posted that 27 days ago. And Russian state television is posting that clip today with the headline, "Does Trump still think Ukraine can win?" And Trump tonight taking it even further, echoing a specific lie of Putin's about not targeting civilians.
We strike with high-precision weapons at locations where they make decisions, where military personnel and mercenaries gather, and other similar centers.
Did you discuss his ongoing attacks on civilian areas in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Did you say cut it out? Did you say show an article of good faith to me?
I did. But as you know, most of the people dying are soldiers.
Which is an incredible thing to say because Trump knows what the world knows, which is Putin hits city centers and civilians as a core part of his war. I've seen it myself in cities. I've seen it in Kyiv. You've seen burning apartment buildings and hair salons and things where people live. I've seen it in small towns in Ukraine. Those precision missiles aim very precisely at civilian areas. And according to the UN, 14,000 Ukrainian civilians have been killed since Putin invaded Ukraine. And tonight, Trump's decision to side with Putin is having major consequences. Senate Majority Leader John Thune backing off a crucial vote, a vote to finally hit Russia with punishing new sanctions that Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham says could be the, quote, sledgehammer Trump needs to end the war. But now they're backing off that yet again. Also, as if right on cue, the United States is also stalling plans to expand the use of frozen Russian money, right? Money that's in accounts around the world, to unfreeze that money and give it to support Ukraine. That's according to Bloomberg's latest reporting. And Kristen Holmes is out front live outside the White House, where, Kristen, I know you're talking to your sources. It is incredible, the 180 pendulum on this and how consistent it is that you can say when Trump says one thing, you know he most likely will say the opposite within days. Why is he backing away from what he said now?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there's a couple of things going on that we need to watch pretty carefully. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take my earpiece out here because I can hear myself in it. We know that President Trump, when he believes that there is a deal on the precipice, that he ends up backing away from any kind of punishment for Russia or for Putin. We've seen this time and time again. The fact that he'll say there's sanctions, he'll say he's frustrated, then he has a conversation with Putin, and the next thing you know, they're putting everything on the table, they're tabling everything, essentially to try and get a deal. But of course, the question remains, when does that stop? Because at this point, again, and I know we talked about this on Friday, we're talking about it again now, it is unclear what they believe they can get out of a second one-on-one meeting with just Putin and Trump when they already had one in Alaska and really nothing came out of it. Now, I will note that they do seem to be doing some preparation for this meeting in a way that we didn't see them doing for Alaska. We know that the Secretary of State has talked on the phone with his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, trying to kind of lay the groundwork as they move forward. They didn't do any of that when it came to Alaska, but these are raising a lot of questions here as to what exactly is going to happen. And we keep saying this is the most important thing to President Trump, but it seems clear that Putin has gotten in his ear, or at least gotten his ear after that 2.5-hour long phone call. And I will note, it's not just about land concessions. It's not just about Ukraine and what they're doing. It's also about this idea of tomahawks. We know that Putin essentially convinced President Trump not to give over the tomahawks to Zelensky. So this has been going on for quite some time. There's a lot of people raising questions as to when is enough enough.
All right. Well, Kristen, thank you very much. And as you pointed out, the tomahawks, right? It was sort of they were going to be a go, and then all of a sudden no, after that 2.5-hour call between Trump and Putin. Max Seddon is out front now, as promised. He is the Moscow bureau chief for the Financial Times. He broke that story about what really happened between Trump and Zelensky behind closed doors. And also with us, Seth Jones, deep experience in the intelligence and military community. And I know, Seth, you spoke with Zelensky right after his meeting with Trump. So both of you can give us this crucial insight of what happened in that room, which matters to the world. Max, you broke the story about the tension and the frustration in that room. How bad did it get between Trump and Zelensky in the meeting?
Well, it wasn't as bad as the meeting that we all saw in the Oval Office in February, but it was pretty dramatic. Trump was, according to our sources, he was swearing a lot. At one point, he cast aside some maps of the battlefield in Ukraine, so he was sick of looking at these maps, and really he did a lot to just repeat a lot of Russian talking points and put pressure on Ukraine to essentially accept Putin's conditions. And this would have been really shocking for Ukraine because they had done a lot of work over the last few weeks and months to try to get Trump to a position where the U.S. would pivot to doing more to support Ukraine. And one call from Putin seems to have been all that it took for Trump to go against things that he said weeks ago. He said that Russia's economy was a paper tiger, and then on Friday he said that to Zelensky that it was doing great. He said that Russia was going to win on the battlefield, which, as you pointed out, less than a month ago he said that it looked like Ukraine was going to win. And it seems that this is really undone months of work by Ukraine and its European allies, and we are back where we were in the summer. Really bad point for Ukraine.
I mean, Matt, it is fascinating, right? 27 days ago, Trump says, I think Ukraine is in a position to fight and win in all caps, all of Ukraine back in its original form. You hear that, that's the public record, Seth. If you're Vladimir Zelensky, you walk into this meeting, but this meeting happens to be right after Trump had a 2.5-hour call with Putin. And so, it's a complete about face. I know you talked to Zelensky after the meeting. What did he say to you?
Well, Aaron, actually what was interesting is President Zelensky, after the meeting with President Trump, as he said to me and a few others, he also spoke to European leaders. So he was gauging their views as well. I think one of the biggest frustrations, frankly, for President Zelensky, the Ukrainian government, and the Europeans, as well as, I'm sure, a number of folks in the U.S. government, is it is not clear what the U.S. strategy is right now. There's just a lot of swinging back and forth about who's winning, what types of aid the U.S. is going to provide. It makes it very difficult to predict. So going into meetings in Budapest, it is not clear, again, what the U.S. positions are on any meaningful issue because they're changing day to day, month to month, and week to week. And the Ukrainians had discussions with the U.S. about the Tomahawks, which would be useful for targeting Russian military assets beyond where the Ukrainians can target right now. And then the president, the U.S. president, got cold feet, concerned about escalation.